Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Kim. Thank you so much for having me today. What a great honor and pleasure because I'm a PK. This is home for me. This is where I grew up, and my parents, my mom is here. She flew from LA. And so I look at you guys, and you guys all seem like my brothers and sisters. So I feel very, very like comfortable here. I was looking at kind of the age range here, and I wasn't sure how I could best, share my story. But I feel like, you guys are not too much younger than I am, hopefully. So maybe my story is something a little bit more relatable. Well, first of all, where I ended, I know it was a long series of different photos, and I'm sure you guys are wondering where the heck these pictures were taken, but they were actually taken in across all 50 states. I think I was introduced in the introduction. He said, "I'm so sorry. What was your name?" Brian. Brian said that I flew to all 50 states. Oh no, sir. Oh no, I drove. Okay, alone most of the time. Yes, yes, simply to visit Korean War memorials and say thank you to the Korean War veterans. So all those 할아버지s that you saw, and I endearingly call them grandpas because I told them if you guys didn't go to Korea and fight almost 70 years ago, I wouldn't be here, and neither would the 2 million Americans thriving in America, as well as the 50 million Koreans who actually get to enjoy the freedom that the 25 million up in North Korea. As we all know, the two Koreas are still divided. So a lot of people ask me like, why are you so passionate about this? This happened 70 years ago, and like, so what, right? So my story goes back, I guess when I was young. I was born in Korea, and my parents immigrated when I was 6. So I guess somewhere, I mean, I don't have a lot of memory of Korea when I was young, but there's something in me that I always like yearned to maybe play a small role on the peninsula. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but yesterday was the 100th anniversary of the March 1st movement, independence movement. So we're a very young nation in a way. And among the martyrs of the movement her name is Yu Gun-sun. She's like the Korean Joan of Arc. She died. She was captured and died in prison when she was 18. Maybe it's because when we were young, us girls, we didn't have a lot of sheroes, to be inspired by. But she was my shero, okay? And I'm like, God, I wish I had that kind of. It's not like I was praying that I'd die for my country, but I was hoping that I would have that kind of courage to do something, at least in pursuit of what I thought was justice. And God, I guess, planted that seed in my heart, and so I always strive to be that person, very passionate, and like many of you guys probably, do well in school, right? But at the same time, we're limited with our choices, right? Our parents kind of want to be doctors, lawyers, and dentists, I'm sure with PUC here in the Loma Linda, that's a lot of your friends. That's like the traditional route, right? SDA, oh, what? You're not a dentist, doctor? What's wrong with you, right? Well, I wanted to be a diplomat because we're bicultural, right? And I thought to me, Korea was my motherland, and America is my fatherland. I take after my father's last name, and I'm American by nationality, but I'm still Korean, and that's my blood. And fast forward, so any of you guys here 22 years old? Anyone 22? No? Okay. Well, I thought I was going to go to law school because I looked at the bios of all the diplomats, and they basically all went to law school. They were lawyers. So I said, okay, I want to go to law school too, because that's the only way I thought was possible. While I was studying for law school at age 22, I almost died from a car accident. And I think that really changed my life. And never have I stopped thinking, today could be my last day. And every day since then. Don't ask me how long ago that was. Actually, it was like 13 years ago, so I'm like 35 now. But I lived every day as if it were my last. And I thank God every day for this bonus day. And I promised to him that, you know what, God? I want to do something. I want to dedicate my life, my extra life, to glorifying your name. Okay? And I had no idea exactly what he had in mind. But I remember packing my bags, I'm from LA, going to Washington, D.C., thinking that's where people with dreams go. And I'm like, if I could die tomorrow, why am I going to wait till I go to finish law school and to go through all that steps to do what I really want? Right? Sometimes we have this misnotion that we need to do all of 1 through 10 to get to our dream, achieving our dream. So I said, you know what? Whatever, I'm just gonna go. So I went to Washington, D.C., almost knowing nobody. And while I was there, and I started grad school right away, I went to the National Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. for the first time. It was my first encounter with Korean War veterans, and it was actually, I was extremely ashamed and embarrassed, both as a Korean, and American, that I knew nothing about this war. So I don't know about you guys. I hope that the education system up here in Northern Cali is better than Southern Cali, but we had maybe one paragraph about the Korean War in our history textbook, whereas we spent months studying about the World War II, even Vietnam. And so I was shocked to find that more than 36,000 Americans, died for me, us, and our motherland. And I'm like, whoa, gotta do something about it. And then, they say ignorance is bliss. So I'm still 22, young, naive, and I'm like, I'm gonna do 3 things. In Washington, D.C., everybody talks about passing a bill. So I'm like, I could pass a bill. I'm gonna pass a bill, So I wrote it down. I said, number 1, I'm going to pass a bill making July 27th, which is the day they signed the armistice. You know how they were talking about Trump and Kim meeting in Vietnam? Well, the whole thing was they wanted to sign a peace treaty because it was never signed. They signed an armistice, which basically means let's stop shooting at each other, but that doesn't mean it's a state of peace. So July 27th, I wanted to make that a day to honor no one else but Korean War veterans. No other veterans, but just Korean War veterans. 2, I wanted every year to commemorate that day and have, especially an event where we would do a vigil and light some flowers for young people. And 3 was to collect the stories of the veterans. So basically, have you guys watched House of Cards? Anybody? No? Okay, well, it's a political drama, but everybody asks me because there's a character, there's a congressman, there's a chief of staff, and he goes around killing people, and they ask me, is that what you did? Because I became the chief of staff, but no, that's not what we do. However, basically, lobbying means, to me, bugging the heck out of people, okay? You could lobby your parents about something, and that is just incessantly asking them to advocate for something that you really want. Well, so that's what I did. So I'm very, very good at it. The Bible did say, knock in the door, and knock and the door shall be opened unto you. So I was like, you know what? I visited all 435 members of Congress's office. I faxed them, emailed them. I did stalking. That is the name of the game. I am very good at it, okay? That's what I did. And miraculously, or I think they got tired of me, July 27, 2009, it passed the House, the Senate, and President Obama signed it into law. So officially in America, in the US flag code, July 27th is the National Korean War Veterans Day, okay? So you gotta pause there for a second. I'm just like you guys. I look like you guys. Look at me, like no one, like everyone when I go around, they're like, oh, do you work in fashion? You know, they would not assume that I would even work in politics. This is how I even dress to work. And they're like, oh, very different. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it really doesn't matter, you know, like what people may expect of you, but it's like, what do you, like, I think my confidence came from the fact knowing that like my God, my Father was King of all kings, and I knew that if I really pursued it without any selfish motives, He will grant it for me. And I really do believe that sincerely as well. You know, if He sees that it is good, it will be done, okay? And so shortly after the congressman, he recruited me to work for him. So he's like, oh my God, I have never seen anybody so aggressive like you. You are crazy, and I like you. So I basically became his chief of staff. First his spokesperson, and then his chief of staff. You gotta pause there again, okay? Me. I wasn't even born in this country, you guys. Okay, I came here when I was 6. Child of an immigrant family from Los Angeles, eventually becoming the chief of staff to a member of Congress who was in Congress for 46 years. I still watch TV, and I recognize all the members. I used to say hello to all of them. I know them still, and I still watch TV, and I'm like, that has to be the greatest joke in the world that I was among that. You know, I still think it's, and I used to walk in the halls of Congress and pinch my cheeks and say, this has to be, like I wake up and it's all just but a dream. And so I thought, when my boss said he was going to retire when President Obama was retiring, I paused and I prayed and I said, God, I didn't get here on my own. None of this is mine. It wasn't me. It wasn't because I was, great that got me to working in the United States Congress. You gave me the bonus life, and you gave me this opportunity. And maybe like Esther, there was a reason why I was here. And I really tried while I was in Congress to do things to give back to the Korean community, to the Asian community, to the women, to empower minorities, knowing that my position could help them, whereas I had to navigate there on my own. So I said, you know what? Just like I packed my bags and went to Washington, D.C., not knowing anybody, I said, you know what? I could leave it all behind. All of this is not real, it's not important. And my third promise that I made, when I was younger, right, to collect the stories of the veterans, because many of them were passing away, right? And I'm like, the Congress is gonna be there, jobs gonna be there, everything is gonna be there, but time is never gonna be there again, never. They're gonna pass away, I'm gonna get old, and who knows where life will take me then. So I just packed my bags, left my apartment, not knowing anybody in any of the countries I was going. I just knew that there were 21 countries that fought in the Korean War. I just bought the tickets, made this crazy itinerary, and I was like, I did not know where I was gonna sleep. I did not know, like, really, if I could even meet a veteran, but I just knew I'm just gonna go to the memorial, even if there's nobody there, I will lay my flowers there, pray for them, and hop on the plane to go to the next one. On average, I was in each country for maybe 3 days. So I'm literally just flying jet, going up. I mean, like, name any country, all 6 continents, South Africa, Ethiopia, all the European countries, I mean, like, even Australia, New Zealand. I was there. But guess what? Remember what I said? When God sees that you're doing something to glorify His name, He will get it. He will send legions of angels to get it done. I mean, out of nowhere, people who I've never met, okay? And this is where I know there are angels in this world, because I couldn't give them anything, right? I'm like homeless and jobless. I can't. They housed me, they fed me, they picked me up at the airport, they dropped me off at the airport, they took me to the veterans, they took me to the memorials. I'm like, what is happening? And that's how I actually completed all visited all the countries, including I said I'm promoting peace, so I need to go to the other side. And I don't know if you guys know, but the enemy countries of the Korean War, or the belligerents, were Soviet Union, so Russia, China, and even North Korea. So I even actually got to North Korea and made it back. Yeah, and that I think is really a testament to God's grace. So I come back and I'm thinking, okay, I need to now live my life, right? I've met many veterans, interviewed them, I have their stories now. But when I heard that due to the lack of funding, the veterans in America couldn't build a wall that would etch the names of 36,000 that died in the war, I really had to pause and pray. I was like, God, you have to be kidding me. But in my heart, I just knew, like in Proverbs, there's this verse that always bothered me, okay? And it says, if you're in the position to do it and you don't, okay, that's a major no-no. I'm obviously butchering the verse, okay? But so I'm like, God, I could do this. I have this platform, and I guess I gotta go. So this time I said, okay, well then I'll go to every single state in the country, because every single state suffered a casualty. So I started out last year on my birthday, April 27th, San Francisco, but because my cousin, and of course Joshua, and my uncle lives in Sacramento, and he informed me. Did you guys know, I saw that you guys have a Roseville YAM, I'm thinking it's some youth group. Do you know that there's a Korean War memorial in Roseville? How many of you guys knew? Yeah, you guys have one very close by, okay? But guess what? In 1950, the Roseville, I think it's still a small city, but at the time it was a population of 7,600 young boys went. Half didn't come back because they were one of the first to go, and during the first couple months of the war was when it was like the fiercest. Can you believe that? These people, young boys, okay? I don't know if there's any like 15, 16, 17-year-olds here. Imagine going to a country that you've never heard of, somewhere in Africa, and then like your brother doesn't come back. That's kind of what happened. And I'm so glad I was able to visit, because it's a very beautiful memorial. And I hope maybe, here's me lobbying, one day, an afternoon activity, you can gather some of the youth and go and visit, because it's just so nice and so beautiful, like Memorial Day, I don't know, weekend. So I went to all of the states driving. But remember how I almost died from the car accident? So even to this day, I hate driving. I almost refuse to drive at night, because that's when I got into a car accident. But what am I gonna do? I can't fly to like every little city, right? I have to drive. So that's what I did. I said, you know what? Get over it, girl, get over it. And so that's what I did. And my last final journey, my third journey, if you will, was trip to the Pacific. Guam, people don't even know where Guam and American Samoa is. They're part of the US territories. And even in the smallest territories, they sent people to Korea, and they also never came back or went home. And so there are families still grieving 70 years later, because they never found the bodies of their loved ones, of their uncle, of their brothers. I don't know about you guys. I have a younger brother. If my brother went somewhere and we couldn't, find his remains, I would still be devastated. And so I don't know if you heard, but back in last year, North Korea actually repatriated, gave back to America 55 remains from the Korean War. Okay? When I was watching that on TV, I was just like crying the whole hour. But never did I imagine, when I went to Hawaii, that I would actually see the remains with my own eyes. So it's really one thing to know about the numbers that died. Oh, like 36,246. It's another to know them by names, because it actually now puts some kind of face to that number. but it's another to actually see the bones. It's like, wow, they're real. And you know how Brian read the passage, the verse, that there's no greater love than this, than those who would lay his life for a friend? I truly, 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 I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know who else, okay? Like, what other love can exemplify that no greater love, that greatest love of all? When these people, strangers from all over the world, for you and for me to be here to enjoy this freedom, this luxury, if you will, right? They died for us. And so I guess what I really wanted to remind America or people, Koreans, my friends, was let's just at the very least just remember them and thank them. And so on behalf of, I would do the kunjar, the bow, and I would say this is not me saying thank you as an individual, but me saying thank you on behalf of all the Koreans who are grateful. There's a couple things, so I guess I'm trying to say here. Number one, on a personal level, okay? Forget the spiritual aspect of it. On a personal level, never forget, okay, you guys, if you have that desire, the passion, and you ask God, and seek him, he will grant it for you, whatever that desire is. Don't let, and I always say this because I still, have to fight against it, right? Being an immigrant, being a young person, being a woman, being a minority. Oh my God, it's like, quadruple like handicap there, right? And I always used to tell people, don't let that hinder you from going to where you can go, okay? So that's one, on the personal level, just like as a sister, okay? Two is that never forget, that concept of God's grace. He is there. I can tell you, me standing right here, it's impossible in the 2 years where I've been that I've never been kidnapped, raped, or whatever, okay? Missed a flight, never got sick. It's incredible. I mean, yesterday, Brian mentioned that I came, I landed late. It was only 6 hours from the East Coast, and I was like dying. I was just thinking, I don't know how I did it in the past 2 years. I know how. God gave me that energy. It's different. It's really different. So, I give the glory to God. And the funny thing is, I actually came here because on Monday, my state's senator, okay, named me the Woman of the Year in the district. When I first heard it, I was so embarrassed. Like us Koreans, we're supposed to be very humble, and we don't, right? So I'm like, that is so embarrassing. But then I thought about it. I said, wow, what a great opportunity for me to say, glory to God, right? Isn't that what he always wants us to do? All my life I prayed that I don't need to wear I love Jesus on my sleeve, right? Especially being a PK, we're more sensitive to that. We don't want people to label as, oh, that PK, okay? PKs, while could have two totally different, the goody-goody and the rebel, but I didn't want to wear either. But I just knew, if anything, God, please let me succeed in life so that when people wonder and ponder and ask, what is your secret? I can say, it's God. It's God's grace. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or maybe I was trying to live up to my name, but my name happens to mean, Hannah means grace. So remember, my brothers and sisters, that God loves us so much, and he has this great plan for you guys. And so, not to forget who you are and what you can do, but also to give thanks and glory to God. And number 3 is that there are veterans near you, okay? Very, very near you in Roseville. So seek them out, say thank you. If they are wearing some kind of Korean War veteran hat, go and hug them. They love it. They love it, love it, love it. So I just want to thank all of you and for this opportunity for me to share my story. And yes, don't forget that the greatest love of all is one who would sacrifice. And God made that sacrifice for us, and so did the veterans. So thank you so much.